Hello and welcome to the Tech Show. Coming up today, we're going to discuss an extremely yellow canyon.
Yeah, look at some brands that are creating milestones and those that are just clinging on.
And the topic today, we discuss those trends that we actually do want to die in 2024. So last week we wrote a letter to the industry asking them for some trends that we wanted to see more of, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So this week we're going to reverse it and talk about the trends that we want to die right now in 2024 and we don't want to see ever again. So there are some trends creeping out there. We've talked about electronics and automation a lot recently, but it is a big trend. We've seen a lot of automatic suspension. I'm yet to test anything like, RockShox flight attendant. I haven't tried that yet.
Fox have got live valve.
Exactly. I've played around with auto shifting on the e-bikes, but that's not quite here in e-mountain biking. But speaking of e-bikes, over on the GMBN show, they did find an e-bike that was hooked up to ChatGPT. I mean, how much does this scare you?
Yeah, I'm just I'll blanket that as a no. I think the less AI, especially I feel like suspension, if the suspension is nicely tuned in terms of it's not dramatically weird in curves, it should be good to set up. Okay, there's a bit of puzzling to be done, but that's quite nice to do. It's quite engaging.
It's also quite nice to just pick up your bike and ride it and not have to worry
about to check all the batteries.
Faffing with all of that.
I think we might have one bike from a brand, and it did have lots of batteries on it for each of the suspension units and the dropper posts. So I think it was like 7 batteries. I barely remember to remind to plug my watch.
I mean, if all they have to do is charge up batteries every now and then, and the bike does all the other thinking, I'm not sure. I'm not completely on board. But let's just talk about that e-bike. So effectively, you wear this special ring, which already sounds a bit weird, that measures your heart rate and measures your sleep patterns and gives you suggestions on how much riding you can do that day and how much assistance it thinks you can do. So if you're fit AF, you don't get any assistance at all, which is really strange. And then Shimano have also filed a patent this year that we've discovered, which is effectively integrating AI into suspension and dropper posts. So you can effectively learn data from a track and then re-upload it every time you go to that track so that it's pre-learned a track for you. Or maybe a pro rides it and then it'll learn that information and you get to download it to your suspension. And it's interesting.
It is really interesting. I think the sort of data capture thing is interesting, but I definitely don't want my bike to ride like Aaron Gwynn's. I'm trying to get hench 24, but there's no way that I'm as hench as Gwyn or any other downhiller.
I'll tell you what would make you hench, though, is this next trend.
Yeah.
32-inch and 36-inch wheels. I mean, that needs to just die right now. We've been talking about it for years. Trek have been prototyping it. Gary Fisher keeps talking about it. Let it go, guys. Honestly, this isn't going to fly. I think the extra efficiency and momentum needs to just roll this idea into the sunset, never to be seen again. What are you saying?
I'd quite like to try one, maybe mixed wheel size, maybe having a 36er up front would be a hoot with a stiff fork. It could be, because you could just snow plough through everything.
I mean, I certainly can't get my leg over the 36 that we've got in the office that Blake and
but mixed wheel size, maybe there's some slim potential. But otherwise, I think, as I struggle getting my leg over a 29er wheel on a longer travel bike, maybe 120mm I'm okay with, but anything more than that, 32-inch inside leg is not going to help me. I'm not going to be able to get over a good chunky tyre. So.
Even if you are 7 foot tall, the problem is bigger wheels would mean longer spokes, which means less tension. It's going to be a bit flexy or just very not stiff. It might be rubbing on the frame at that point because of the leverage, cornering, also added weight. So the people I think who would enjoy this are tall XC people, but then the added weight just makes you think, actually, might just go back to 29 because they were good enough.
Basketballer. There's some very tall basketballers.
Maybe 2.
I feel like for me it's one of those stories of whereby as an industry we're not very good at storytelling on some occasions. Obviously us excluded because we're great at storytelling.
As we're demonstrating.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things of where we think more is more when actually sometimes more is less and we just need to explain it a bit better. And one of those examples would be with gears where we've gone from 11 speed, which was brill. It worked really, really well. You could get a really good range.
12 is better though.
But it's not.
It is. I love having that extra.
Okay, if you're racing, all those little incremental steps, I think, makes lots of sense. I've used a 1x system on the road, and when I've ridden with a friend who's a lot fitter than me, but also got 2x, I could notice the jumps a bit, because on a 2x road setup, it's really incremental and it's quite nice. But off-road, I need a really high gear or low gear, whichever way around it is, to spin up the climbs, and I need something to kind of put some pedal strokes in on a fire road. All the incremental bits, that's okay. I don't need those. I want a robust system that just keeps working.
I certainly do notice it more on road and certainly gravel, because obviously you do need a really, really big gear to blast along fire roads or maybe pedal downhill, and you do need a really, really easy gear to get up the steeps. So I guess that makes reason why Campag have done the Ekar, which is the 13-speed gravel specific.
Gravel race specific.
Yeah, lightest gravel set in the world. That makes sense there. You know, road are still doing 2x12, so it's effectively 24 gears, not just 13.
Well, SRAM have tried to force some of the roadies onto a 1x drivetrain.
Don't like it, do they?
No, and that's because there are more sort of gaps in between the gears, and if you're having to follow somebody's wheel, and it's, you know, there's only like a watt difference in between them, and they're doing everything aero. I think there's some new aero helmets that tuck the rider's ears in, just for those aero gains. But I think on a mountain bike, we don't need it. We want something robust and good.
Well,
maybe like
Shimano
Link
did file a patent for a 13-speed gearbox, and that could potentially be robust and solve all of those issues. But as it stands, I think 13-speed would be great for cross-country racers. I reckon they'd be on board with that. I would. In cross-country.
And there's the mechanic, I'll stick to 10-speed.
Yeah, but for most people, trail, enduro, don't need it, and perhaps the finicky aspect of more gears in a small space is just too much for people.
Yeah.
But speaking of more, one more thing that I think probably should die a death this year is more suspension. Just more suspension all the time. We've gone from 160 up to 170 on the enduro. XC has gone from 100 to 120. I thought it was fine at 100. Now this is, you know, what's happening to the poor trail bike? The light, short trail bike is being forgotten about.
It's reborn with a new name. It's reimagined itself. It's like David Bowie, where he changed names to Space Odyssey, etc. I think with the travel thing, it's a slightly weird one in the fact that we had sort of like that 150-ish nice trail bike, almost enduro bike, and I guess it's because brands, again, we're looping back to storytelling, and I used to work in PR, so I apologise. It's my fault as well, because I was not very good at storytelling either. But it's an easy story to tell, opposed to having to go in depth and talk about how actually we've changed the rear wheel path and, you know, explain all of that story. We've just simplified it so, well, this year we've got 5mm more, so it's more betterer than last year's.
Well, they can't just keep slackening the angles, can they? They're going to have to do something. So.
Well, but there's lots to play with axle path. Rear axle path is really interesting, and I think mountain bikers, comment if I'm completely wrong, I think we are engaged. We are more nuanced, and we do understand a lot more about axle path and sort of like how suspension system works. So come on, PR people, tell us a real story, not just that it's
got more.
5% more.
Anyway, you guys, let us know down in the comments below, what trends are you spying that you want to just end right now? Let's just cut it, die a death in 2024. Let me know down in the comments below.
Talking about things that we don't want to see this year, almost like clockwork, we've heard that Orange, who were sort of like pinned to be another statistic of a doomed bike brand, have come back.
Juicy story, right?
Indeed, yeah. So great to sort of peel back the layers on that as it develops. But initially, it seems like it's all back, all of it streamlined. So that's really exciting, I think. So, you know, made in the UK, which I think is exciting. Single pivots, again, I think that's quite exciting. Some non-single pivots as well, also quite exciting. So, yeah, great news from Orange.
Some new jobs for them, like
indeed.
A fine marmalade.
Yeah, I mean, they were in a bit of a jam, so, yeah.
In happier, non-pun related news, and it's a happy birthday to Athertons, celebrating 5 years. And, you know, in those 5 years, they got 5 UCI downhill World Cup wins and also a World Championship to their name already. So young. And they're celebrating, but they've sort of used this time to shed light on the potential new Ally bike released out there. Or is it released, or was it accidentally leaked by G on Instagram? Either way, we love seeing it, it looks like an alloy version, which means that there's potentially a new, more affordable version of an Atherton bike coming soon.
Yeah, super exciting that. So, as we mentioned, an extremely yellow bike, which is Fabio Vidmar's custom.
Easy for you to say.
Well, easy for Fabio as well, probably. Sorry. Yeah, his Canyon Talk. It was the carbon version as well. I thought it was the alloy. We had to do lots of research to see. It's actually the carbon one, so fair play. It's the 275 version. He's got Olin suspension on there, which is pretty cool. He's got triple crown fork on there. Some custom Agora brakes, so it's definitely stopping. I mean, I guess the other standout feature of this bike was the wild Pirelli tyres with screws in.
288 screws just shoved in there, which is incidentally why he needed a mud guard. It was nothing to do with mud. It was just to protect his manhood, I believe. So Ibis News, they've updated the Ripmo AF and the Ripley AF. I don't actually know what AF stands for, but it's definitely...
Aluminium frame.
There we go. I know it's an alloy something.
Easy to drift of as.
Yeah.
But
no. These bikes are alloy AF. So the Ripmo is their hard charging 160 in the front, 147 in the rear, and the Ripley is the shorter travel 130 front, 120 rear. There's some nice colours going on here. We've got a Cinnabon bronze, espresso black, and the Ripley comes in plum smash,
which is purple. It looks gorgeous. It's so good.
And titanium toaster, so we're liking that.
Yeah, really good.
Both bikes range from $2,999 up to $3,699, depending on your build, either SRAM, Shimano, or Fox Marzocchi. And there is a UDH in both of those if you wanted to be bougie and upgrade to Eagle transmission. E13 unveil a new range of mountain bike wheels, so full lineup here. So we've got the Grappler Gravity, developed with Aaron Gwynn over the last 8 years of him racing for them. And this includes an integrated 7-speed cassette.
Yeah, on the
really
axle.
Interesting.
Yeah,
really
clever.
interesting.
Yeah.
And that comes in carbon or alloy. They've also got a Grappler Enduro, which is like heavy EMTBs or, hardcore Enduro.
Yep.
They're promising handbill, more spokes, steel pulls in their own hubs. And then you've got the Sylvan, which is the same wheel, but just a little bit lighter. So if you're doing trail or mountain, or you have a light EMTB, and then the Optimus Trail, which sounds like a transformer, is lighter still and is effectively a lower profile, which gives you apparently more compliance, and then that is designed to be a bit more nimble and paired with a 3 degrees of engagement in the hubs. So looking good.
Very good. So interesting industry news now. Joe Graney of Santa Cruz, so he started off as engineer, then became CEO, and then as Pond took over, he stayed at Santa Cruz. So he's been there, shivers, 23 years. Wow. Okay, so he's CEO for 8 years. He's now moved on. So it'd be really interesting to see the direction that Santa Cruz go, and obviously where he goes next, because he had a really big influence on Santa Cruz and building it into this, well, not small little company that was family owned, but into this huge industry sort of like, titan, really.
Something interesting is going on there, because obviously we've seen the founder, the co-founder, Rob Rocks. I can never say his name.
Roscoe.
It's too much for me.
Skateboard
but Rob
dude.
left as well, and it's been the first time they've started doing sales as well. Things are really changing there, so be interesting to see what comes out of those doors in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, so our quiz question last week was, what does Specialised SWAT stand for? And bonus point for when it was released. It is indeed storage, water, air and tools is what SWAT stands for. And user PM1 blah blah, very catchy name, said the correct answer and guessed at 2015. You were very close, you were the closest. It was actually 2013 that they released that. It was ages ago. And we're still asking for that kind of SWAT storage system on our bikes.
I saw some new bikes from a bike brand literally today. Very exciting features.
Oh, I know. Oh, interesting.
All will be revealed.
Little tidbit there. You'll see in
you ready for this week's question?
Yep, and all the winners also on the screen right now, just so you get your tech points there, your pride points. Next question.
So this week's question is, one of the Atherton's bikes co-founders was previously a co-founder of a different bike company. Specialised in a similar manufacturing technique.
Yes.
What was it called?
Yeah, they brought it over to Atherton, so it's a very similar looking bike. Is your clue out there?
I think people will get this.
I don't think anyone will get this.
I
We'll find out.
I think they will.
Let you know. Answers in the comments.
And now we've got a rewind.
Yay!
I think it's my first rewind. It's quite exciting, to be fair.
You guys have not been sending in rewinds. Please go to the uploader link down in the description because we need some more. We need to rewind and see some retro stuff.
Yeah, retro stuff is
good. So I
good.
can call it old tap.
It's anyway, not old tat, it's awesome. And awesome, starting off with Andy's Ridgeback 603 SIS, which has got an awesome story. It's an awesome looking bike as well.
Taking cues from Yeti, I believe, with those colours.
Yeah, with those colours, yeah, definitely. Unicrown fork as well, which for when it came out in the 80s was pretty cutting edge. So he bought it in a panic on 5 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon.
Always a good idea.
Yeah, in I think May Bank holiday maybe, in 1988. Some of us weren't even born then. Some of us were. Hi, the Mountain Bike TV. He was desperate to get one, and it was the last one. And so, yeah, got the right size.
The only one that's fit,
Yeah, which is perfect. And thankfully, on budget. I mean, wild to think that, I've seen, well, just a rear shock. Actually, I've seen a handlebar stem for the same price as this was. Admittedly, it's about 40 years ago, but we'll skip over
cool.
that. Minor detail.
And can we just point out this sort of like routing, this cable routing through the stem? I absolutely love that.
Yeah, no, that was really common.
It's really neat.
You did get a lot of brake jack from it though, so you'd have to, no really, because the fork would flex back and then that would pull more cables through.
Oh, cool.
So it would be, it was
like an AI
engaging.
braking system, but like early edition.
In a kind of like Terminator style AI that's
like
taken
gonna
over,
take over your ride and kill you. Yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah, no, awesome bike. Really good story. So more like that, please. That's fantastic.
Yeah, please send us some more rewinds. Uploader is in the description below.
Okay, so now to comments.
Yes, indeed.
Most of them quite nice too, which is good.
Yeah, well, of course, we were talking about things that we wanted more of, so everyone was chiming in with what they wanted more of, and JN1083 says bikes should come with a lower price as standard. I mean, that would be nice, but the reality is...
Yeah.
Don't know.
Well, there's lots of sale bikes at the moment, so you might be able to get yourself a bargain. So, James Lewis says space for 2 bottles is a must.
Is a must. That's a man after my own heart there. Absolutely. 3, if not. Ellie Rute says frame protection already installed. Throw in extra alternative decal colours too. What a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I mean,
good. Some do frame protection already stored. Nuke Proof did that very well for us. For the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, there are kits available, but it would be nice to see it from the off. Mr. Chad Ledford says, nothing makes me happier than external cables, and every bike should use UDH.
There's a simple guy.
UDH
makes him
is
happy.
very good, so I agree with him on that one.
JH in WI says 34.9mm seat tube. The larger diameter allows them to make better dropper posts that don't rattle. What are we saying? I'm definitely all on board for one standard size. Can we please?
I think 34. I think it's a really good shout. So old alloy frames back in the day had this really thick, humongous size. It looks really burly and big. And on an alloy frame, it was great because it made it a bit lighter, so it was good because we always went lighter and lighter. It was quite harsh and quite stiff, but for dropper posts, makes complete sense. I think, you're
I
on.
would
Great
love
point
to
there.
have
Yeah, more of that,
one
please.
size because I removed my dropper at the weekend, got it all to the point where I was swapping it over for a shorter post and realised it was the wrong size. And I was like, I want to cry.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, so what are we looking forward to this week? On Saturday, how to safely cut carbon and alloy bars. Is this you?
I think it might be, Not 100% sure. We'll find out on the weekend. Yeah.
And then on Sunday, there's a tacky versus normal tyres test as well.
Yeah,
so
I believe
out
this
in the
is
field.
the Don doing this, so
Is
it will
it?
be very rapid.
Nice,
Yeah.
excellent. So keep your eye out for that on the Tech Show at the weekend. But for now, do join in the debate on what you want to see completely die as a trend in 2024. Join the debate right now.